Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Usually on this channel, we talk a lot about thyroid health and hypothyroidism. And today I have a very special guest, Delaney.
Hi, thank you so much for having me on today.
Yeah, and so today we're going to dive into different health topics, but we're also going to touch on the thyroid. So stay tuned. But if you can just begin talking about who you are, what you do, and how you got into the whole wellness space, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. So, hi, I'm Delaney. I'm Wellness with Delaney everywhere. And what I do now is I'm a full time health and wellness content creator and podcaster. My background is I'm a certified health and wellness coach I have my Bachelor of Science in Health and Wellness Coaching as well. And I've always been really passionate about the idea of wellness, even as misguided as I have been over the years in different parts of my journey. It was always something I was passionate about, right? And so I really started this at a young age. I was a competitive dancer. I was dancing from the age of like 3 all the way through high school, competitively from the age 8 on. And so just that was
Wow.
already yeah, and so, like, food and movement and fitness were always a part of my life, right? Just living on
Mm,
stage, always being really active. It was, like, 7 days a week, like, intense regimen.
wow.
And so through that, obviously dealt with a lot of injuries over the years, as you do in dance. If you don't cross train, you are very likely to injure yourself. So I dealt with really chronic issues with both of my piriformi? I don't know what the plural is of piriformis, but both of them, I don't know if it was just a really bad, like, pull that continued to come up or if I tore it or whatever, but it was years of pain, had a lot of issues with my Achilles as well, my knees, just had a lot of kind of developmental muscle and bone structural things that happen when you're doing such high impact and, like, high mobility work without cross training. And so through that in high school, started doing more cross training, got more into like weightlifting and hot yoga and all these different things and Pilates
Mm,
just to kind of heal my body. And that's when I really fell in love with the idea of just fitness in general. So going into college, I got some certificates in group fitness instructing, and that was my job all through college, teaching different modalities of fitness. And in that time, I was kind of in that like more heavily plant-based, very free, eating
yeah.
Buddha bowls every day, like tofu was my favorite protein, because that was so the time, this was like 2016 when I was in college. And
Mhm.
it was so that era when the healthy thing to do would be to like run miles on the treadmill, eat kale and tofu bowls every day, right?
Yep,
And yeah. And
I
so it
can
was
relate to this. The healthy thing that they tell you to do is like eat a bunch of salad and run on the
yeah.
treadmill, and it's like it doesn't work for us. But
No.
yeah, continue. So interesting.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of especially women fell prey to this because
Yeah.
it's this idea of like you eat like rabbits to be skinny, right? And so
Mm.
I totally fell into that and I never could really accomplish my goals. At the same time also decided to go on hormonal birth control because of PMS.
Mhm.
And, it was one of those situations where I went to my college doctor and she didn't even ask me about my lifestyle. She's like, "Yeah, we'll slap a pill on that. Let's put you on the pill because they love to
Yeah.
push that."
Yeah.
And then, of course, I gained maybe 20, 25 pounds
Yeah.
immediately. I gained so much weight. I was so puffy. And for reference, I'm 5'2", so that amount of weight really shows. Like, I'm one of those people where
Mhm.
every pound shows on my body except a small frame.
Yeah.
And so I gained a lot of weight, got really, really severe hormonal acne. Like, I can send you photos. It was really bad.
Yeah.
And was also dealing with like borderline psychosis. And when I say that, like, it would be like, I mean, severe depression, which I didn't know was a side effect of birth control. And then on top of that, like, just I was so, when I look back at how impulsive I was, and there's a level of like, I was in college, I was going through a breakup, my
Yeah.
frontal lobe wasn't developed, but I really do attribute a lot of it to birth control because I didn't realize really the effects that it has on your brain. And
Mhm.
so I just really struggled. Like I struggled to look good, I struggled to feel good, I struggled to feel like myself. And after a couple years decided to get off of it and try to get my health where I wanted it. And so I did get off of birth control after a few years and immediately the weight fell off. At that
Wow.
time, yeah, it was amazing. And at that time I also went like fully whole food plant-based.
Mhm.
And I think like a lot of people, what they have with this experience with going plant-based is that at first it seems like a really good choice because you're essentially cleansing and starving out your fat cells
Yeah.
and you lose a lot of weight. So for me, because I wanted to lose weight, that happened really fast. And so I was like, wow, this must be this like miracle diet. And I think a lot of people,
Exactly.
because you're like, I was cutting out not just meat, but I was cutting out Doritos and a lot of fast foods and like, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? All these
Yeah.
things
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
would have animal product in them. And so, and you're really like malnourishing yourself. You're gonna lose weight at first, but then in that, all of a sudden the hormonal acne started to come back to a degree,
Mhm.
not super badly, but to a degree. And I was
Mhm.
really fatigued. And I was like, I am so
Yeah.
tired. What's going on? Started doing a lot of different things
Yes.
like contrast therapy for my liver, all this stuff. Nothing really worked. Ended up getting blood work and found out my thyroid was not working very well. Ended up developing hypothyroidism, which I didn't know at the time was really common with veganism, and also birth control can exacerbate that as well. And which I
Mhm.
wasn't on it anymore, but I'd spent years on it. And so kind of went down a lot of different rabbit holes. I started with the Synthroid like many people do, and it never really helped my numbers actually. And I didn't ever really feel that much better. It like took the edge off for me, but I never felt vibrant. I never felt energized, if that makes sense. And I
Yeah.
was like, I don't want to feel like this all the time. Like it doesn't feel good. And there was something to me about the idea of being on a prescription for the rest of my life that didn't sit well. I had seen my mom with hypothyroidism and that she ended up having Hashimoto's, and she's been taking her different supplements and like her different pills and medications for years and years and years. And I was like, I just don't want to be in my 50s still taking the same medication. Like I want to get this under control. At the time,
Mhm.
ended up, sorry, this is a long story, but ended up going back
No, you
on
should.
birth control because I was a little idiot. And I was about to get married and I was like, okay, I don't want to have to use protection when I'm married and da 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 da. So I'm going to get the IUD, got the hormonal IUD. And at
Mhm.
first, no symptoms. And this is where I think a lot of the issues is for people, like because they don't get an immediate reaction, they don't always attribute a symptom to a certain root cause because sometimes it takes a while for it to kind of build up in your body, right? And so after about a
Yes.
year of the IUD, hormonal acne came back with a vengeance again, really bad. And that's when I decided to go down my healing path. Like I feel like all these times, like this was all while I was in college, getting my degree in health coaching, doing everything right according to what the allopathic people say to do. And I was sicker than ever. My
Yep.
skin was atrocious. I was really struggling with that. I was so skinny. I was so frail. And that's when I started like one day, well, I got rid of the birth control. I like took out the IUD, immediately started to feel better. And then one day ended up like craving salmon aggressively. So I got some lab
Mm.
work done after 5 years of being vegan and never craving anything. And it turned out I was really low in selenium and iodine. And I was like, well, that's connected to my thyroid. And it's also
Yes.
like interesting that my body knows, right? Like I just started really wanting like
Yeah.
salmon and oysters and all this different seafood. So I was like, I'm just going to listen to my body. If I'm craving it after 5 years of being like grossed out by animal products, there must be a reason.
Yeah.
So I started eating that. And then that kind of took me down a slow process of like adding back dairy, adding back eggs, adding back steak, and then eventually like pretty much all meats.
Yeah.
And then I like, after I added everything back, started learning about like plant chemicals, lectins, phytates, oxalates,
Yeah.
gluten, and the effect that can have on progesterone and thyroid. And like I went down this whole rabbit hole, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, and so that's when, and then I was like, I'm gonna start cycle syncing and all these things, and that's when true healing happened. I cut out, I'm not,
Yes.
a lot of people think I'm carnivore, and that's a common misconception. I'm animal
Mhm.
based. I'm
Yep.
not fully carnivore, but caveat, I don't eat every plant. There are a lot of plants I
Mm.
simply do not eat. I don't eat kale. I really stay away from cruciferous vegetables. I very much limit nightshades, no gluten, like all these things. I'm very cautious when it comes to plants. So it's more like meat, fruit, and then I do like things like carrots because they help absorb excess estrogen, and I'm always trying to work on progesterone. But
Mm.
through all this, I ended up getting, for the first time in my life, my thyroid into normal levels without medication.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, I was able to get my progesterone into normal levels after years of having it so low. I found out I wasn't even ovulating. So I was able to get my progesterone back to normal, my thyroid back to normal, like all my numbers looking gorgeous. And a lot of it was diet. It was cycle syncing, like not training so hard. And then another thing
Yes.
was I started doing like beef organs. Like I take
Yeah.
bovine thyroid, bovine liver, heart, kidney, spleen, pancreas, like all the gross things that people wouldn't really imagine like that I'd take. I started taking all of those, and I swear those are nature's multivitamin. And that's kind of how I ended up here. In this all, like I've just shared my journey and shared being a health coach from that like professional standpoint, but B, just like my journey, what I'm learning along the way. And that really kind of snowballed into this career as a content creator as I've just been honest about the process. And then people are like, we want more. Like, how can we go
Yeah.
deeper with you? And that's where the podcast was born last year. I was like, okay, people are really wanting to go deeper. They want more than a 90-second video. Let's give them a
Mm.
podcast where I can bring in other experts who know more than I do about all these different topics. And we can really deep dive and talk for an hour instead of just a minute.
Yeah, exactly. And you brought up so many important points. The overtraining. And this is a huge stress on the body, especially for women, because we have so many hormones. And yet we are promoted like we were men, that you should run all the time. That's how you lose weight. Cut down on the calories, which will put your metabolism on the sink.
Yeah.
And a lot of these things will just stress the body out. And it's so true. Everything you say. Like, I also remember, oh, I want to be healthy. So I ate a lot of veggies and especially spinach,
Mhm.
which is so freaking high in oxalates.
Yeah.
So when I first started out, I went cold turkey on the carnivore, which was maybe not the best because I got a lot of oxalate dumping. So in the beginning, I actually felt worse, but then I just stuck to it. And then I saw improvements also. And I also had another girl on a podcast recently, and she was also vegan for many years. And she had the same, or her body was just one day screaming, I want meat from nowhere. One day she was, no, I will go to the store now and I will buy a freaking steak. And then she just ate it and she never stopped since. So
Yeah.
I think maybe many vegans have gone through this, but also, as you said, they get trapped in the beginning because it can be a good form of detox depending on which plants you use, especially if you're going from a standard American diet, which you probably did, like
Mhm.
jumping into that. And so I think many fall down thinking, okay, this is the diet that I should go on. But really, no, because you need the fats, the animal fats to balance those hormones, right?
Yeah.
But you said your period got better, your menstrual cycle and your acne. Could you see a difference in your energy also since you had thyroid issues and everything else? How was
Yeah.
it going more animal based after?
Yeah, it was actually very much night and day, which so the first time I tried to get off of the Synthroid, like the synthetic thyroid medication, for those who don't know what that is, but the first time it was so bad, I was crashing. Like midday, I would just crash. Like I was just on the couch, like I
Mm,
couldn't move, bone tired. And then the second time I went off of it when I was animal based, it was like I remember this aha moment where I had just finished podcasting and it was like
mm-hmm.
3 p.m. And 3 p.m. normally by 3 p.m. like with my thyroid, I would be done. Like I'm so tired.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I didn't get to work out today and I still have a ton of energy. I'm just gonna go to the gym. And I like hit a really heavy lift, felt amazing. And that was a moment I was like, oh my gosh. Like a few years ago, I would have never been able to do that. Finish a full day
Mm,
of work and then go to the gym. Like that's crazy. And so I definitely have noticed, I mean, energy, and not just like I'm waking up more energized, but like that slow burning energy throughout the day where I don't need to crash in the
yes.
afternoon just from trying to stay alive and like be awake.
Yeah, for sure. Because that's a big thing, especially when you have thyroid issues. People say, oh, she's tired all the time, blah, blah, blah. No,
Hmm.
you're literally fatigued.
Yeah.
I'm dead. I can't do anything. I don't have energy to even breathe. I want to sleep 12 hours or more, and I still
Yeah.
won't have energy when I wake up.
Yeah.
And so I think so many can relate to that. But it's so cool. Do you still do dancing, or how do you do your workouts nowadays?
Yeah. So I'm not a dancer anymore. Like I have, like sometimes I'll take a class for fun, just like an adult class for fun. But now I'm really into strength training. I think it's so important for women to strength train. But I'm going to
Yes.
caveat that because I think sometimes women hear this message and then they like start doing CrossFit 5 days a week or like heavy lifting every single day. And I'm not a fan of that, which I used to be. If you asked me a year ago, I was lifting
Yes.
like 5 days a week and then maybe like one day of Pilates, but I've actually really switched up. So even then, so I love strength training. It's so important. I mean, bone density is so important as we age.
Mhm.
Having muscle tone is just, I mean, it's always going to benefit you. The older we get as women, like the harder it is to put on muscle. So if you're young, I always say like, put it on now, eat a lot of protein now, practice those foundations now. But then beyond that, so I might lift like 3 days a week and then sometimes
Mm,
even 2 days a week, depending. And then I love Pilates. I love like Legree, which is essentially Pilates, like spicier cousin, that kind of work, mat work. So I might work out 5 days a week, 3 Pilates, 2 lift, 2 Pilates, 3 lift. And then if I do movement on the sixth day, it's like gentle mobility. So I like to
mm.
take 2 rest days, but one of them at least has to be like a full rest. And then with that, though, walking, like, I am a big believer in, they say, and I think it's funny because the 10K steps thing wasn't really rooted in science, but I do think it's a really good starting place for people who don't know how much to walk. Like, I do think there's validity because really that's just like getting people up for maybe like an hour and a half. I always like to do like 10 to 15,000 steps a day. I just will mark it by like at least 5 miles. I think walking is just the best thing ever. It's so good. Once again, for bone density, it's gentle, it's sustainable. If you're
Mm.
walking with a little speed, you get a little cardio in. It's just, I think, and
Yes.
it's something you can do at any point in your cycle. Cause I do love to cycle sync. Like, I will PR ovulation, so I might do an extra lift around ovulation, right? But I kind of train on a bell curve where beginning of menstrual cycle, end of luteal phase is kind of a flat line, like a very, very chill.
Mm.
Ovulation is
Mm.
that peak. And so I'm building
Yes.
up through follicular and then building down or like tapering down during luteal. So, but with that walking the entire time, it's the greatest thing you can do. So yeah, I love movement. I love cross training. I think it's important to do different things because
Mhm.
if we just lift every day and do those same motions, it's less functional versus like incorporating mobility, incorporating deep core strength, pelvic floor, all these things. So I think it's really important, whatever it is for people, to cross train, to move in different ways every day.
Yeah, and I love that you sync with the cycle because so many women they don't do this and I'm also guilty. Like I used to do that also before, lifting heavy every single day, not caring where I'm on the cycle, not listening to my body because we're not really taught that, right? Tuning in with our bodies, feeling where am I at, where energy, how do I feel today, what do I want to do? And so I think it's such an important point. And touching on walking instead, because as you said, walking, you can do the full cycle. It's
Yeah.
awesome. And it's so easy and affordable. You can just go out and walk. And especially if you do it in nature, you get like the double benefit. And also, how do you view grounding? Is that something you do?
I love grounding. I live in a city, so
Yeah.
I love grounding with a caveat that like if you live somewhere where everything's sprayed with glyphosate, it's probably not great to be laying directly on that.
Yeah.
So I have yes, like it in theory, I love it. When I'm in places that I can ground, I love it. I might love to lay on the beach. It's like my favorite thing. Being in the ocean is
Yes.
people don't realize is like a great form of grounding. I love being out in nature, hiking, and like doing that. When I'm in the city, I'm a little more careful because I see how they spray everything.
Mm,
And so I think that's something a lot of people forget with grounding is like you do want to be careful. Like, yes, get in contact with grass, but get in contact with like virgin earth, not earth that's sprayed every week, because
yeah.
that is also you're like now like leaching. I mean, our feet have the largest pores in our body or some of the largest pores, and then we're leaching all those chemicals into our bodies. So, yes, I love
Mm.
grounding. If you are living somewhere where you can control what's sprayed and not sprayed, like do it every single day. If you're like me and you live somewhere where you don't have as much control over that, I think it's important to get out into remote nature and do that.
Yeah, it's a good point also. The toxins in our environment is not something that we usually think about, but it can really, really affect us. I even saw a video on Instagram when with smokers. You can get
Mhm.
like a secondhand smoke when you walk past them because you breathe in the smoke that they breathe out.
Mhm.
And something we don't think about is when we walk into certain buildings like shopping malls or a hotel or something, usually they have scented sprays that goes out into the air like air refresheners, but it's not
Mhm.
refreshing at all. It's actually killing you. But yeah. And so he said that's also a secondhand smoking that you never think about. Now that I live in Dubai, I don't know. They are crazy with perfumes. They spray everywhere. So
Wow.
even though I don't wear perfume, after I've been out, I smell perfume.
Wow.
It's like I got free perfume on me, but I don't want it. But it's things you don't think about. And the same with the earth, they spray it. And I do agree with you when it comes to training and everything like that. I think it's awesome advice. And also switching up the workouts. As you said, more functional benefits. You have not only a body that's bulky, but also flexible and can do more things. And it's so important. But how do you go about removing toxins from your house, in your products, in your
Yeah,
life?
that's a great question. So, first of all, like the first thing we can control is what we're using personally, right?
Yeah.
So, I am like a big on zero fragrance whatsoever. If you're going to,
Yes.
and I think for women, this might be harder, but for guys and for men and women, like, yes, this is something that we do a lot. I think that people don't realize that fragrance is in like almost every makeup product, body product, many skincare products, home product, like all these different
Yes.
things. And if you start to look, because just the word fragrance alone can hide like 3,000 different chemicals. And so that's
Yes.
why I think it's such a good one to start with, like eliminate fragrance. And it's an easy one. And we live in a day and age where there are a lot of natural, if like you are a perfume person, 'cause sometimes I still love a good scent, but I do a natural one. Like I think there are really beautiful, like natural, holistic fragrances out there. Maybe they don't last as long, but small
Mm.
price to pay for hormone health, right? You can reapply, it's not
Yes.
a big deal. So removing fragrance, really, really easy. And then if you're like me, like I still love, as much as I'm like non-toxic, holistic, I still love a good like full glam moment. So
Mhm.
with makeup, like looking for clean makeup can be really hard because like if you walk into Sephora, the clean makeup label still allows so many chemicals in it. So I don't even
Yes.
follow that. I look for
Yeah.
things that are free of parabens, phthalates, which like immediately that's going to eliminate so many hormone like disruptors, looking for like no synthetic dyes, no synthetic preservatives, no synthetic like, or no mineral oils. And those are some really good things to look for, like talc-free makeup as well. So I've kind of found what works for me and some products that work for me that give me that full like glam vibe and aesthetic without
Yeah.
any of the toxins. And I feel really good about that. When it comes to home, honestly, I am a huge fan of just like DIY. You can buy really great, like I know Branch Basics has really good natural cleaners. There are some good ones out there, but honestly, there's so much that you can do with vinegar and like some citrus. There's so much that you
Mhm.
can do with baking soda. I really love a good just like DIY multi-purpose. It's just like vinegar cut with water because it really is. It's neutralizing, it's cleansing, it's odor, like it neutralizes odors. It just does a lot. And it's non-toxic and it's cheap because I think one big issue people have is that so many non-toxic products are so expensive. And that's something that annoys me as well because you do end up spending a lot more on your groceries, on your cleaning products, on your makeup, whatever for good non-toxic stuff. But with cleaning, like you can buy a $3 giant jug of vinegar and cut it with water, maybe add a little like lemon peel, and you have a beautiful cleaner that is super multi-purpose. And then like baking soda anywhere you need to scrub, super, super easy. Regarding actually one thing that I've really gotten serious about, and this kind of ties into
Mhm.
how I like will detox as well, which I can get into, but I've gotten really into non-toxic apparel. I will say I'm not perfect when it comes to my apparel, but the non-negotiables would be underwear. Like organic cotton underwear is a must. Having
Yes.
microplastics and like petrochemicals and all these toxins right on your reproductive organs is like insane. It's so
Mm.
detrimental. But then also activewear. If you think about it, what, when we're working out, we're sweating, we're detoxing. If you're wearing that like sweat wicking clothing, especially over, once again, your reproductive organs, and like if you're wearing leggings, your whole leg, right? Over your breast tissue, everything, it's basically trapping the moisture, the sweat that you're detoxing is trapping it between the skin and the clothes and then recirculating. And not only is it recirculating those toxins, but you're also adding in, these clothes are made out of plastics. They have formaldehyde, they have BPAs, they have phthalates, they have like all of these insane chemicals in them. They're literally plastic, right?
Yes.
And like you're basically just reabsorbing all these petrochemicals and all these like plastics into the body. So not only are you retoxing, but you're actually adding more toxins. And then, people, what do they do after they work out? They sit in the sauna and they're like sweating even more and circulating even more. So I've gotten really into non-toxic activewear, and like sometimes it's hard because you're
Yes.
gonna show your sweat more or whatever. Just get a black set, it's fine.
Yeah.
But I would like, we're supposed to sweat. We're supposed to detox. It's
Yeah.
okay. So I think
Yeah.
just getting sweat positive, but with that, like eliminating stuff that's already in your body, sweating is an amazing way to detox. Like drink a lot of good fluids, clean water, work out, sit in the sauna, sit outside on a hot day. Like sweating is amazing. Movement is so important for like getting your lymphatic system going and just increasing those pathways. But then also like I'm a fan, I'm bougie, so I love a good like acupuncture, lymphatic drainage massage. Like I love castor oil packs, vibration plates. Like I love all the good biohacks as long as they're
Yeah,
actually
biohacking.
effective. Yeah.
Yes, but, do you use sunscreen?
Not normal. Okay, so here's my philosophy with sunscreen. First of
Mhm.
all, the whole fear mongering the sun is ridiculous. There's been studies
Yes.
showing that like rats exposed to the sun only get skin cancer when they're eating seed oils. So
Yes.
I really do believe that like sunscreen starts on the inside. If you're eating an extremely anti-inflammatory diet and you're eliminating polyunsaturated fatty acids, like so those seed
Mm.
oils, you are not going to have as much inflammation and like a inflammation like reaction to the sun. When I cut
Yes.
out seed oils and inflammatory foods like sugar, alcohol as well, gluten, I stopped
Mm.
burning and I started getting way more tan in the summer. It's winter now, so I'm just on my pale grind. But in the summer, I get really dark, and with that mind, because I try to have an ancestral approach. If you look ancestrally, like hunter gatherers will be out in the morning exposed to morning light. And in the heat of the afternoon, that's when they would seek shade, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I think this idea of like, yeah, we're going to bake all day from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., be all day out in the sun, just like absolutely obliterating your skin is not actually ancestral. So I try to look
Yeah.
at that. So with that, if I do use sunscreen, it's an extremely non-toxic. I do think like all the different chemicals in most sunscreens out there, especially anything you're going to get from the store, most cosmetic brands are going to cause more cancer than the sun itself.
Yes.
However, there are some really good ones out there. Like I love the Primally Pure one. It has like a really clean zinc. And then I love the Tallow Twins one as well. Like they're both tallow based with minerals and like the so instead of like chemically reducing the ray, like the UV rays to your skin, it's more of like a
Mm.
mirror, like it reflects the rays back to the sun. So if you're doing like a good mineral sunscreen, not all mineral sunscreens are so clean. So look at the other ingredients, but if you're doing a good, like very pure, like ancestral mineral sunscreen, I do see a time and place. Like I will, for example, in the summer, if I'm like at the vacation house, all morning, I don't want any sunscreen, no sunglasses, anything, because that's when you're really setting up your circadian rhythm, right? So I
Mm.
like direct sun to the skin, direct sun to the eyes, and you're going to give that's like drinking the best cup of coffee out there. It's so good for your circadian health. It's good for melanin production. It'll actually help you prevent burning. You're going to get more red light and less blue light in the morning and in the evening. So late day and morning, no sunscreen, no sunglasses. If I'm out still in the like
Yes.
peak of afternoon, like if I'm
Mm.
out from like 12 to 2, I might put on a very clean mineral sunscreen or seek
Yes.
shade. But I'm not one to seek shade. I love the sun. So that's where I'm like, I know myself. If I'm boating or in the beach or whatever, like I'm not going to be the person to go in the shade. I love the sun. So that's when I'll put on a
Mm.
clean sunscreen. So I might apply it once in a day.
Mm.
So very nuanced. Like I'm not fully
Yeah.
anti sunscreen. I'm anti our approach to sunscreen in this modern
Yes.
world.
Yes. Yes. And it depends also where you live.
Yeah.
If you live in a very cold country where there's not a lot of sun, then you will be able to probably be out even during the day. But if you're living in a very hot country and the sun is very very harsh, then you might want to apply natural zinc sunscreen. But as you said, like you have to read the ingredients label because even those can be pretty dirty. And when you talked about Sephora going in there, looking at the labels, I can relate so much. And I think every single wellness girly that has gone down that rabbit hole, looking into clean makeup, clean products, we know you're gonna go in, you're gonna turn on everything, and you're gonna leave with nothing.
Yeah.
Because it's almost impossible to find something in a store with conventional products. You have to either order online or, as you said, which I love, that you make it your own. And especially when it comes to things like cleaning products, it's so good that you touched on perfumes and cleaning products because they are probably the most toxic things you can have in your home. And when we think about perfume, we even apply it on our skin.
Right on the thyroid
So
too, right? Like on the
yeah,
neck.
yeah, actually, yeah. We even breathe it in, right? Because when we spray it, it goes out in the air. So the worst thing you can have in a home is cleaning products, candles, these air refresheners,
Mhm.
perfumes. So that's a good rule of thumb. Remove everything with the perfume to start with. Even laundry detergent can be
Yeah.
have so much like perfumes and stuff.
Yeah. And it's
And as
crazy
you,
because I don't
yeah.
think you smell it until you detox, then you start to smell it, right?
Yeah, for sure. But also plastic, underwear, because when we think about it, that's the area where the body sucks it in the most because it's literally up in your body. It's crazy. But how do you go about when you have your period? How do you handle that? Do you use tampons or pads or what?
Yeah, so I know this is controversial for the holistic wellness community, but I still use tampons. I
Ooh.
and it yeah, I know. I use organic tampons. Like, I'm really careful about the ones I use, like, no plastic applicators, like, all organic. Yes. But, and
Mm,
like, my sister's very holistic as well. And I know she's like anti tampon. And I know why people are. I actually agree. Like, if I lived in a perfect world, I would be like, yeah, we're free bleeding, like, la la la. But The reality is for me, like, I like to wear thongs, and a pad just doesn't sit right with
Yeah,
that. Like, it
match.
just it doesn't like, you can try to fold it into it, but, like, it's just kind of a mess, and so I think and that's where it's like, have grace for yourself. Yes, like, I still wear them, and I know that people are like, "Nah, it's not great." I'm careful to use organic, like, use organic cotton tampons,
Mm,
and I will also say, like, you have to be careful once again with the ingredient list. Like, I remember going to Whole Foods and looking for I needed to grab some, and it said tampons made with organic cotton, and I was like,
yes,
ding, 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 like, this, like, light went off in my brain, and I'm like, whenever something says, like, made with, that doesn't mean it's fully that thing, right? So, read
yes,
made with organic cotton, I'm like, let me just read the rest of the ingredients. The second ingredient was polyester. So I'm like,
yeah.
you have to, like, actually read your ingredients, and you have to, like, if you see something that says made with this clean thing, that's honestly a way that a lot of brands will greenwash you. So, like, be very careful. I still wear them, when I'm at the gym or at Pilates or whatever, like,
Mhm.
it just isn't realistic for me not to. Maybe that'll change someday. Like, I'm very open to that changing. I tried to do, like, the disc and the cup and whatever, and I just hated it. Like, I've
Oh,
tried other things, and I had a really hard time with the disc. I feel like I couldn't make it work, and it was just, like, a mess, and I didn't trust it. So I'm like,
mhm.
"Okay, out of all the things I do, if the worst thing I do is an organic cotton tampon, like, I think I'm gonna live."
Yeah, 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 for sure. Yeah, because the organic tampons, they can be good, but they will greenwash sometime. So you really have to read into it. If you don't know what it says on the package, what I usually do is I paste it into ChatGPT, and if I'm extremely sensitive, is this gonna hurt my health?
Yeah.
And then you get more realistic answers, and you also get more awareness of what it actually is and what it does to your body. And that can also be good to see, because sometimes we think, whatever, a freaking tampon, it's not gonna kill me. But I know this one girl, she was a model, and she used a tampon, and she actually got an acute toxic reaction.
My
And
gosh.
yeah, and she lost both of her legs. She had to
Wow.
amputate them.
That's crazy. Yeah,
Yeah,
and you
and
need to
she's a
change them
model.
frequently. Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
so
because
sad.
but imagine, like, it being so toxic that she had to amputate her legs. And we
Yeah.
are like, "Oh, whatever, it's just a tampon." But it makes sense, because when we are on our period, our immune system is weaker, right? Because we're
Mhm.
losing blood and everything. And we put it in the most sensitive place in the body, where it's gonna suck up the most of the toxins
Mhm.
at the most sensitive time. And so it makes sense, but it's the things we don't think about, because it's a part of our routine or our habits. So just being more aware of everything, but also you have to take it step by step.
Yeah.
But start with removing the perfumes, and then you can start seeing other things
Yeah.
in the rest of your home.
Yeah, and I will say, like, if you are someone who uses tampons, at the very least, do not use conventional tampons. I don't care if you're in, like, a public restroom and that's what's available, like, be prepared, because
Yeah.
the plastics, the bleach that's in them, all these things, like, our vaginas are extremely absorbent.
Mm.
And it's like they're literally like there's fragrance in some. Like you're really putting fragrance up your vagina. It's crazy, crazy. So I mean, I always look for like 100% organic cotton and that's it. Like don't if there's any other ingredients that are not natural fibers and that are not organic, like immediately throw it in the trash.
Yeah. When you do like products at home, I don't know if you do laundry detergent yourself. You do? Or
I don't make it myself, but yeah, I'll have to like actually look at the brand. I think I use like Ecos. I do
yeah,
unscented even if it's scented with
yeah.
Even if it's scented with essential oils, I don't do that for a few reasons. One, I like essential oils, but doing a lot of us, like once you get, away from the perfumes, many people can overuse essential oils and toxicity
Uh,
is a real thing. Like because they're such a potent, basically like concentration of a plant versus like a whole
mm,
plant extraction. So
mm,
you can actually develop like a lot of allergies and there can be toxicity or things like pets. Like I'm washing my dog's little sweaters and her blankets and stuff and a lot of essential oils can be toxic to animals. So I
wow.
I do all non-scented. I also like to just get like laundry soda. You can get like
Mm,
a laundry powder that's basically made out of, I think it's like baking soda and like it's just very clean and you can also kind of DIY it that way.
mhm.
So there are a lot of natural things that you can do aside from like a Tide Pod, you know what I mean? Like I hate all of that. I can't even like now when I travel, I have to bring my own laundry soda to Airbnbs because
Yeah.
whatever they have, like I can't even sleep in sheets that have been washed in like conventional laundry detergent because the scent is just, like, blowing me away all night.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. For me also, like, I was at my mother's house and they still use it, but I slept with in the sheets and I was almost like coughing because I'm not used to it
Mhm.
anymore. Like that's also such a crazy thing. Like once you go like clean, you react a totally different way that you never used to. I applied a little bit of makeup that was organic, that was supposed to work, and it did before. And then I didn't wear makeup for so long. And then I applied it, and then I got like breakouts. And
Wow.
I was like, damn.
Yeah.
My body literally says to me, no.
Isn't
But
it
how
wild?
is, yeah, it's wild. But how is it for you? I can imagine sometimes you maybe eat something like grains or stuff like that. How do you react now?
So, okay, actually, I will say if I and I think this is what's interesting. Like if I
Mm-hmm.
am like I went fully cold turkey with gluten. I think that's a good example because I
Yeah.
was really reactive to it. Every time I ate even a little gluten, I would get bloated, my stomach would hurt, and I would get
Yeah.
cystic acne. Like I would get a fresh breakout the next day, and I would always know it was like, oh, I ate gluten yesterday, and I woke up with like an underneath like a cystic zit. And so I
Mm.
went cold turkey, and then after, like, 6 months, I still am gluten-free, but, like, there have been times that I've maybe eaten, like, a bite of someone's sourdough, like, things like that,
Yeah. Yeah.
and those things I used to be very reactive to, but
Yeah.
now I think because I've gotten there are 2 sides of it. One, like, I can't even touch, like, true junk food. If I were to eat, like, someone's Skittles or Doritos or, like, the genuine, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
ultra-processed food, it would send
Mm.
me into oblivion because my body is like, "I don't know what to do with this. This isn't food." However, there are things that I was very reactive to before because I even used to be reactive to eggs and dairy. I used to be very reactive to them, and then I healed my gut. So I think there's also a level if you heal your gut and get
Yeah.
inflammation down, some of the foods that you react to, you might not react to strongly anymore. So I can eat like 5 eggs a day, dairy with every meal, have no issues, right? But something like gluten, it's not a staple in my diet. I'm still, like, gluten-free, but if, like, once
Yes.
in a couple months, like, my sister makes homemade sourdough, and I eat some like,
Mhm.
a little bit of it one time, I won't react to it. Now I think if I were to build it back up in my system, I probably would react to it because now you have, like, the antibodies and the autoimmune reaction involved.
Mm, mm.
But because I've gotten that inflammation response down so much, I'm not as stressed about foods. I still avoid them and don't eat them, but I've noticed just like you do kind of your body almost like metabolizes things better because I feel like when you're
Yes.
constantly like building up toxins in your system and building up reactive food. So, and when I'm not talking about ultra processed, I think there's no room in your diet, like no room in a healthy diet for ultra processed food. But for
Mm.
things like maybe nightshades that I avoid because of lectins or
Yeah,
yeah, things like, something with a little gluten, like fermented gluten, that kind of thing.
exactly.
Yeah, if I'm not eating it every day, but because I've taken the burden off of my liver, taken the burden off of my autoimmune system, right? If I were
Yes.
to introduce a little bit of that, my body's not gonna be, like, haywire. It can handle it because I've already, like, taken the toxic load off of my body. So I think that's, like there's also the thing of, like, people can detox and then there's fear, right? Like, they can fear foods and, like, have that, and
Mm.
I understand that, and I think it's really important to have standards and be picky, but I do think that there's a level, like, if you can get your body out of this ultra reactive state, it becomes much easier because now your body can detox as it's supposed to, not,
Yes.
like, showing up in gut health and your skin and all these different things because now your liver isn't so burdened.
Yes, for sure. Because you mentioned when you eat bread, you eat sourdough. And so there is also a difference between the regular bread and the sourdough bread. Because
Mhm.
when it has fermented, it's easier for the body to break down, right? And if you make bread, you can also make it at home instead of buying it from the store and it having a bunch of other ingredients. But for me, even though I've been eating so clean for 2 years, still bread and the grains, whenever I eat it, I
Mhm.
feel so sick. I'm like you, I go grain free. And so basically, I maybe eat it like once or twice a year, but still, like every
Yeah,
time I feel drunk, like it takes me out. I don't know. I feel
that
so
is real.
tired and sluggish. Yeah.
That is real, and I will say if you are, like, ever trying something, what I would recommend trying is, like, freshly milled sourdough. I've noticed there's a difference
Mm.
between even if it's homemade bread or a homemade gluten, if it's store-bought flour, it's bromated and the flour is, like, actually rancid. So, grains oxidize so quickly, so the only way for me to really not react to is to have a grain that is, like, freshly milled, which my sister makes
Mm.
she grains her own mills. That's why I'm like, when she makes bread, I'll eat a little bit because she
Yeah.
grains it or she mills the grains right there and then makes bread. But
Yeah.
even, like, store-bought flour, have a hard time with. I really have to stay away from that. But, like, if I'm gonna do a grain, I want one that's freshly milled because that does actually make a difference, and it's not gonna be, like, this rancid free radical situation.
Yeah, exactly. I never thought of that like angle of it because I did buy organic flour, but it was prepackaged. So, but that I will try that and try to ferment it and see how it goes. But of course, also when you buy stuff, I you probably buy organic if
Oh,
I'm yeah.
absolutely, yeah. I mean, and it's hard now too because I feel like sometimes even organic isn't good enough anymore. I don't know what it's like in
Mm,
Dubai, but in the States, like, a lot of organic produce has organic appeal on it,
yeah.
and I'm like, "Hey, this is insane." So I think I'm careful about what grocery stores I get produce from. So I might get all of my like, I'll do a lot of my shopping at Whole Foods, but I do not do produce there because they allow appeal on their organic produce. So I'll go, like,
Yeah.
next door to Trader Joe's where currently things can always change, so I don't know if this will always be the case, but they initially did not allow appeal. With that being said, I just would rather buy, like, organic produce from a farmer's market, or even if it's not USDA organic, like, if I know they're not spraying and I know they're regenerative, then that's fine because there's also, like, so much bureaucracy around the organic label. So I also love just, like, going to a farmer's market and be like, "Hey, do you spray? Does the land next to you spray? Like, what are your practices?" And even if they're not labeled as organic, as long as, like, they actually have clean practices, that's all that matters. Because I feel like not a lot of non-organic farmers market produce is probably cleaner than even the organic, like, labeled
Yes.
organic produce in the grocery store.
Yes, yes, I think that too, for sure. They greenwash it, so you don't know is it 100%. I even know that when it says like grass fed, it doesn't mean that it's
Mhm.
maybe grass finished and things like that. So it's you have to keep up with the labels also. They change it all the time. There are
Yeah.
so many names for sugar also.
Yeah.
So I'm only buying one ingredients food almost all the time.
Yeah.
How do you think about that? Do you sometimes buy finished products, but mostly one ingredient, or what's your approach?
We're definitely an ingredients household. Like, I prefer that. I mean, really, like, my diet, my husband and myself, it's gonna be, like, meat, like a protein, and then, like, maybe, like, some fruit or squash or something, right? But if I do buy something prepackaged, there is a difference between, like, minimally processed and ultra processed, right? So if it's like I have Parmesan crisps in the pantry that they're the only ingredient is Parmesan, but technically they're processed because they're, like, dehydrated crisp Parmesan chips, right? So
Mm,
something like that, or, like, something like cottage cheese. Yes, it's processed. It has, like, the dairy and the cultures and whatever,
yeah.
but, like, I'm looking at what are those ingredients, right? Because I
Yes,
mean,
yes.
technically, if we go down that rabbit hole, like, the yogurt I buy, the cottage cheese, all these things would technically be processed, so I
Yeah.
look at the ingredients. I don't like to buy like, I really stay away from the snack aisle, like, I don't like to buy even, like, the healthier chips. Not to say I never do, my husband likes them, so he'll buy them as long as and for me, as long as they're
Mm,
organic and seed oil free, like, I'll fight the battles that I can fight with him, but, like,
yeah,
also,
yeah.
there's free will. So, like,
Exactly, exactly.
I'm not a fan of those things. I still think that they're, like, addictive. They're still gonna be, like, unstable for your blood sugar. They're still a heavy carbohydrate food with not a lot of nutrients. So I'm
Yes.
still not a fan. I think, I'll buy something processed if it is, like, every single ingredient would pass my checklist individually and it still is
Mhm.
nutrient dense. That's what I'm looking at. So, like, that's why I was like, I'll buy, like, my dairy products, like cheese, cottage cheese, whatever is technically processed or, like, things like that. But I'm not gonna buy things that have cleaner ingredients but are still, like, gonna wreak havoc on my gut and blood sugar and all these other things.
But how do you go about water?
I use a filter called Santivia for drinking water, and I like this one because it filters out toxins and fluoride. Not all filters filter out fluoride, and then it also remineralizes. So, like, while I'm a
Mm,
fan of things like the Berkey and, like, some of these other water systems, one thing I don't like is that they strip everything, and then you're
yeah.
dehydrated, right? And so when I
Yeah.
drink from people's Berkeys, I have to add a lot of minerals back or else I notice that I'm dehydrated. So I like Centivia. It's not a big filter, that's the only thing. And I wish it was like larger or it could attach to my water system. But I do love that it filters out fluoride. That's what I'm always looking for because
Yes.
that's not always a given. Like the standard filter on the fridge probably isn't filtering out fluoride.
Mm,
And B, it does add like, it runs the water through, like, minerals. For, like, other water so I also filter my sink and shower, and I think a lot of
yeah.
people don't think about that, and I'm like, for overall health, but also skin, hair, nails, like, you will see the biggest difference. So I use Filter Baby on my sink, especially for skincare, and then I use Jolie on my shower. And I love that. Also, if you do have babies, one thing that I love that I do for my dog's bath, actually, and I do for my bath as well, or like if I'm parasite cleansing and doing a fulvic soak, like I'll do this. I have like Santivia has this little faucet filter that you just throw under your bath faucet and it filters, the same thing, it filters and remineralizes. So you're going to be bathing, instead of bathing in like toxic chlorine, like fluoride, crazy city water with all these different, I mean, with it has birth control
Yeah.
residue. Like I've even heard that city water can have aborted fetal cell, different things like that. Like crazy because
Oh,
for women who take the pill, and then oftentimes they abort in the toilet and flush it and it's going into the system and
oh.
we don't have it, like breaks my heart, but we don't have
Yeah.
systems in the city water to filter out all of that, right? So like there's crazy stuff
Yeah.
like drugs. I mean the birth control is major too. Like for people who are trying to clean their hormones
Mm,
up, I really like the Santivia. If you have kids and you don't have a filtered bath system, it's a really great just like portable one that you can use and then reuse it a few times, get a new one. I use it for my dog, I use it for myself. Yeah, so
yeah.
I'm really big. I mean, the quality of water, our bodies are over 70% water. So it's like that, I feel like isn't always one of the first things that people do, but it should be because we are more
Yes.
water than anything else. And so what are you building your cells up with?
Yeah. And also the plants. Like we
Mhm.
have, I think four, but actually you should have four per person in the household. And it should be like pretty big plants. So
Oh
it
wow.
should be almost your height to get good oxygen. And it also, there are some plants that helps cleansing also from
Yeah.
toxins. But I didn't know about the phenols. But now when you said it, it makes sense because yeah, I know. But oh, that's so crazy. Like imagine you drinking that because when you live in a city, you have no choice, right? You have the water you have. If you're living on the countryside, you can have your own well
Mhm.
and you get the water from deep down in earth, like, and it
Yeah.
has been like filtered through that. And it's so important with the minerals, as you said, we need minerals to be hydrated. And so if you have like a filter that strips away even the minerals, you have to like add them back through
Mhm.
mineral drops. So
Yes.
it's either getting like a filter like you did or getting a very strong filter and then adding back the drops. But then you have to pay a little extra for buying the drops every single time
Yeah. I think a lot of people
when it
don't
runs out.
realize that too. Like they don't realize their
Yeah.
water is not hydrating, which yes, those filters are
Yeah.
great. Like I love things like the Berkey for the actual filtration component. Just
Mm.
you don't want to be drinking like completely stripped water. So yeah, it's like adding those minerals back. Or yeah, the one I have, it's small. It's just like a little pitcher, so you refill it a lot, but it's
Yeah.
so hydrating. And whenever people come over, they're like, "Your water tastes so good." And I'm like, "Yeah, because it's mineralized."
Yeah, that's so awesome. But I'm just going back a little to your thyroid issues because
Yeah.
you said you had hypothyroidism, but
Hmm.
your mother had Hashimoto's.
Yes.
Yes. And so do you think you could potentially have had Hashimoto's when you had thyroid issues? Did you test for antibodies?
I did test at one point and I didn't have it. I
Uh,
don't know if it, I mean, and it never got so bad that I think that that was even really a concern. So I don't think I ended up having it because um we did end up testing it in the beginning and that wasn't something that my naturopath was super worried about. Granted,
okay.
I think if I had continued down the path I was going down, that's probably what it would have developed into.
Yeah, because it's so common for people who have thyroid issues, like hypothyroid, that they actually have Hashimoto's. But since they don't test the antibodies, they don't really see that.
Yeah.
And so for a lot of people, they miss it. And then they end up developing other autoimmune diseases because they didn't know they had autoimmune issues.
Mhm. Isn't it wild?
Yeah, it should be standard if you see that someone has hypothyroid or even hyperthyroid, that they test for that because there's always this potential risk.
Mhm.
And I read a book about it was a functional practitioner that made a book about this, and she said that about 80%, or she assumes that about 80% of the people who has thyroid issues actually has Hashimoto's.
Wow. That's a high
Yeah,
yeah, that's a really high number,
yeah,
especially because I feel like thyroid issues are getting more and more common, like, we're seeing
yeah.
especially for women, but I actually recently met a man who had hypothyroidism that developed into
Yes,
Hashimoto's, but, like, for women especially, I mean, we are seeing it
yeah,
in crazy, crazy numbers lately.
yeah, yeah. For every one man that has an autoimmune disease, there are 8 women.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
incredible. Wow, that's insane.
So, yeah, it's almost 70-80%
Mhm.
of all people who have autoimmune issues are women.
Yeah.
And it's because like our immune system is much more is much stronger actually.
Mhm.
And so that would be good if we were living naturally.
Yeah.
But a lot of people they don't know that if you have a lot of toxins in your system, if you eat foods that causes leaky gut and pokes hole in your stomach, it leaks out into your bloodstream
Mhm.
and it causes the immune system to freak out. And nobody teaches people this. So they just go to the doctor, like the allopathic system, and they tell them, there's nothing you can do about this. Here's the pills.
Yeah.
But you even said when you were on the pills, you didn't feel optimal, even though it helped you in the beginning, probably. You could feel a change in the beginning, but still you didn't feel this energy that you have right now and the stable
Yeah.
energy.
Yeah, well, and I actually learned from another expert. I didn't know this, but apparently a lot of times with the synthetic, like it might raise your numbers. So
Yeah.
on paper it's better, like it looks better, but you're not actually fixing any of the issues on the inside that so
Yes.
you're not going to necessarily feel that much better because your thyroid's still not functioning. Like the ultimate goal should be to heal, not to mask, right? And I
Yes.
think that's a huge problem with our medical system is that it's all about like masking a symptom versus looking at root cause. Like even I think about for young women, I'm actually, in general, in the right time, I'm a fan of bioidentical HRT. But
Hmm.
it's the same thing for young women who go on progesterone, with the exception of in their first trimester. I think there is definitely a case for preventatively taking progesterone in your first trimester if you're pregnant. But
Yeah.
going on it for fertility, let's say. Okay, so like yeah, why do you need progesterone? Like, have you looked at your thyroid? Have you looked at your
Yes.
cortisol levels? Like, cortisol
Yeah.
can directly impact progesterone. So these women who are cold plunging every day, super stressed, lifting like crazy, doing HIIT classes all the time, they can't get
Yes.
pregnant because their progesterone's in the tank. Well, like, let's not just look
Mm,
at progesterone. Let's look at cortisol. Let's look at the thyroid. Let's look at these other hormonal systems in place that directly impact. And I think that when we constantly slap, like, well, here's the band aid for that symptom, here's the band aid for that symptom, we're not
yeah.
looking at the interconnectivity of how the body actually works.
Yes. Preach. Yes. 100%. And it's so silly that we have like 10 different doctors to
Hmm.
look at different organs when everything is like an ecosystem and it works together. And so just because your symptom says one thing, it could be wrong, something wrong with the whole system, something triggering, for example, toxins, or even as you say, and it's so good point that you brought up with the synthetic versions because what ends up happening in a lot of cases, and even with supplements, is that it ends up in your bloodstream just
Hmm.
circulating, but the body not being able to use that. And then you're just left with, well, synthetic forms that it can't really grab and use. And I always say this, especially when it comes to nutrition, because a lot of people are very into supplements. And I'm like, yeah, there's a time and place for supplements. But if you can get it from the real source, then that's the optimal thing because
Yeah.
we have to think about bioavailability. Can the body absorb it? Can it use it to do what it needs to do to keep you healthy and thriving?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, as much as you can get from food. And I think honestly, the only way to do that is to eat an animal based diet. Like,
Yes.
because you're also, I mean, you think about like you are not just what you eat, but you are what your food eats. And so, all those,
Yeah.
even all the let's say all those plants that like might have benefits, but they're kind of blocked by plant toxins. You're dealing with a lot of like you're going to deal with mineral deficiencies if you eat them a lot because of the oxalates and phytates. You let your animals that like your cows can eat those things, right? They can eat the grass and get all those benefits from the soil and eat the plants
Yes.
that we cannot digest. Their bodies are
Yes.
made for that. And then we eat
Yeah.
the cows, we're getting the nutrients from their bodies. So I think really the only way to get a truly bioavailable diet without friction from the other like negative side effects, because obviously there are vitamins and nutrients in plants, but they're just not always
Mm,
bioavailable to us, right? The best way to get that is by eating an animal that ate those things.
exactly. Sometimes we need a special form of a nutrient that we couldn't get from plants.
Mhm.
Like take heme iron, for example. You can only get that in animal foods. You cannot get that from because they say like, oh, if you're low in iron, just eat spinach. Okay, but if you're gonna get it from spinach, you have to cook it a certain way. You have to add it with vitamin C, and you have to like do a lot of stuff first and foremost. But also when you cook it, you lose a lot of nutrients.
Yeah.
And then when you eat it, you have to do so many things for it to even get a very, very small amount. But think about us women. We lose blood every single month. And if we're not refilling with iron, because we need iron to make blood, right? And we lose blood, but we don't add back that iron. That will cause an iron deficiency, which can also lead to a weakened immune system and a lot of other things.
Mhm.
You will be depleted in blood basically, and we need we need it.
Yeah.
And we can only get it from red meat and or especially red meat and liver and
Yeah.
organs. But who's telling us this? No one. I know we had sexual education in school and no one was talking about this when it came to the period. Yo, girls, you need to eat liver
Yeah.
to rebuild your blood. Girls, you need to eat steak.
No one tells you these things. It's all just I mean,
No.
it's all I mean, they wouldn't want to because ultimately sickness is a business. Like
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
our system wants people to not get healthy because I was having this conversation with a friend and I was like, yeah, I was like, I'm sure they're the cancer. I mean, I know people who have cured cancer very holistically, right? And like
Yeah.
naturally, and it's
Yeah.
amazing what they do, but I'm like I also know people who've gotten in a lot of trouble for doing that. And it's like, why would all the cancer researchers actually want to cure cancer? Because it's such a lucrative business. And same thing with
Yes.
any sickness, any reproductive sickness. I mean, even if you go down the rabbit hole of like they sell you birth control that doesn't work so that they can also sell you an abortion. Like all of these different things. And
Yes.
of course, they're not going to tell women how to be healthy because then they were not going to go on birth control at 14 years old, you know? Because
Yeah.
they're going to have horrible periods, horrible hormones, and no one's going to teach them how to regulate it.
Yeah. And I also read up on that because I was just looking. So I asked ChatGPT, what can you do if you are low in blood? And it was like, jump on the
The
hormone spiral.
spironolactone? Is that one or?
You know the when you don't want to get pregnant, you
Oh,
can put something that's hormonal up your
I don't know
you
about
know
that one. I know about like the patch and all the different like there's like the one they insert,
yeah,
but
yeah, they have these, but then they also have but yeah, you can
wow.
even if you do this one, but still that's not solving the
No.
problem. That's just stopping you bleeding every single month. But also bleeding is a great way of detoxify,
Mhm.
which also is like we always want to like mess up the systems, but I'm so happy that you also think like I am that obviously they are doing this because they have an agenda.
Oh, for sure. I mean, this is not an
Yeah.
accident. I mean, the body is
No.
perfectly designed. And like for me, obviously my
Yes.
faith is a big part of my page and I really believe like God's design of human nature is like in perfect harmony and we have
Yes.
really gone out of harmony. And I also think with that
Yeah.
like with birth control too, I mean cuz now a lot of times if you have certain IUDs or if you have like the pill, you'll have a withdrawal bleed and people still think it's their period. If you are on
Yeah.
birth control, you are not getting your period. A withdrawal bleed and
Mm,
the thing with that, yes, you're bleeding, but you're not ovulating. And the big issue with not ovulating is like ovulating is so important for your muscle strength. It's really important for bone density. Women, bone density, we need to be
yes.
building that up like in your teens, in your 20s, in your 30s. Do that now. You're also, it's really bad for your mental health not to ovulate because that's like, that is the time of the month when you're gonna be the most vibrant, most like sexy, happy, all these things. You're missing out on that. It's really bad for your mental health not to have it. And then it's muscle strength, like all these things, there's so many benefits to ovulation beyond just like having. And so
Yes.
even if you're bleeding on certain birth controls, you're not getting your period because you're not ovulating. And I don't think women realize that. Like people
Yeah.
go on birth control for 10 years and like 10 years with no ovulation is crazy work.
That's crazy. It's so crazy. There's so many things that are crazy. And as you say, nature is so perfect. Everything has its ecosystem, everything works perfectly. And also, we are evolved in this system. So we are dependent on this system. So when we remove us from the the environment that we are adapted to be in, then a lot of issues are going to come with that. Also, I did a podcast with a girl talking about microbes, our microbiome,
Mhm.
and we need bacteria even. The
Yeah.
bacteria that is in nature touching the soil. We need to get dirty.
Yeah.
We're too clean, and especially during corona, everyone was using hand sanitizers, and we need the microbes on our hands as well.
Yes.
Like, we have microbes everywhere, and it's so important for us
Yeah.
to stay healthy and thriving. And if we just remove that, we never touch the earth, then of course we will develop things like allergies
Mhm.
and even sickness, I think.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I mean, think about people use fluoride and antiseptic mouthwash, which is killing,
Oh,
like, when something kills 99.9% of bacteria, it's killing bad and good, right? So it's
yes, yes.
systemically killing everything in the
Yeah.
oral microbiome.
Yes.
Antibacterial hand soap every day. Use, you know
Mm.
what I mean? Like all these different things. And they're constantly, like, it causes systemic disease. And even beyond that, when it comes to like biome and just like promoting that and having good bacteria for immunity. One thing I learned recently from my own podcast, which I thought was so interesting, was I had a doctor explaining to me, like, nowadays we have a lot of women opting for C-sections. And yes, there is a time and
Yeah.
a place for C-sections in emergency. Like, I would never
Yeah.
shame a mom for that. But the whole idea of like elective C-sections, or even a lot of doctors will push them when they're not actually necessary. Like if the baby's breech or all these things where there's other workarounds, they'll like there's a reason they don't let women eat during labor is because they're prepping you for a C-section. And they will do that even if it's really not necessary, right? And because they can charge so much more. But when you deliver a baby via C-section versus vaginally, they miss out on a lot of immune building because passing through like the vaginal microbiome actually exposes the baby to really important germs and helps them build their own microbiome. So you actually see too, systemically, babies were born via C-section versus vaginal micro or vaginal birth will have much weaker immune systems, will have more
Yes.
allergies, things like that, because they're not
Yes.
exposed to the right microbes.
Yes. Yes. It's absolutely true. And the first thing also they do is they cut the cord,
Mhm.
which the placenta contains the baby's blood that it needs. And so you should never just cut the cord once the baby is out. It should stick there for a while. There's no rush, but
Yeah.
they always want to rush that so they can sell it,
Mm.
Because I think I heard it was worth around $100,000 or
It's
something like that.
crazy. It's
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
crazy. Like, even if you're
And
not gonna take your own placenta, take it home, bury it in the yard, I don't care.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
don't
yeah.
let them have
Plant a
that.
tree.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Do what you want with it. Like, I don't care if people take it or not. Like, I think I'm pro take placenta, but, like,
Yeah.
not everyone is, and that's fine, but, like, do not leave same thing with, like, I don't know how I feel about circumcision, but, like, if you're going to do it, do not let the hospital keep the foreskin. Like, all these different things, don't let the
Yeah.
hospital keep parts of your organs. Just don't do
Yeah,
it.
because they're gonna sell it, and
Yeah.
it's gonna make their business thrive even more.
Yeah.
And I'm a big supporter of vote with your dollar.
Mhm.
Put money on the things that you want to support. And if you are just giving away your placenta, you're basically giving them $100,000, and you're also paying for all the extra stuff already.
Yeah.
And so I wouldn't do it. And also the baby needs it, and they will cut the cord. I watched a video where a mom said specifically, I don't want you to cut the cord, don't cut the cord. And they were like, yeah, yeah, we're not gonna do it.
That's
Yeah.
insane. That would be like I would be suing the pants off the hospital that did
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
I would be like, "Oh, you're gonna do that? Okay, I'm gonna sue your pants off." Like, seriously, that's
yeah,
insane. Because
yeah.
you're taking away
And
health from the baby.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And it was against her will. And also they have film of it. So I'm guessing probably they did sue her. But imagine you're being in that fragile state. You cannot, what can you do? You have
Yeah.
just given birth. You're laying there with your baby. And directly after she was, you cut it, you cut it. And they were, oh, no, no, it's okay. Oh, here's your baby. Oh, like they tried to smooth over
Yeah.
it, and I was like,
Yeah.
why? I know why, but I'm getting
Oh,
I
it's
just get so
heartbreaking
frustrated.
though.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah.
heartbreaking because there's no autonomy for people and like that's they feel so helpless. This is why like and obviously like times of emergency, yes, but I'm personally just like not team like hospital birth in general. Like
Yeah,
that was also the other thing is like find someone for pregnant women, find someone who's genuinely gonna be on your team, not just bossing you around. And
exactly.
write down your birth plan ahead of time. Whoever is, whether you're doing hospital, midwife, home birth, whatever, have your birth plan in writing and like go over it
Yeah.
in detail with whoever your provider is. That's really important ahead of time so that the expectations are extremely clear.
Yes. Yes. And as you say, opt for home birth if you feel okay with that. Because actually, I don't know if they have done a proper study on this, comparing, but I would assume that a lot of the times it goes a lot faster and smoother and painless if you do it at home
Mhm.
compared to doing it at the hospital because it's so unnatural. I had also a podcast with another woman and she was talking about this. You're basically in a place you've never been before with a bunch of strangers that runs around you and you have this fluorescent light above you straight in your face.
Yeah.
And then you're supposed to like deliver a baby on your back.
Yeah. It's wild. It's so wild. It's unnatural. It should be in
Yeah.
a dark, quiet place with like
Yes.
peace around you. And yeah,
Yes.
it's so
Where you
backwards how
feel
it's done.
safe.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also a hospital is too sterile.
Mhm.
Also, no. And also, one of the first things they do when you get a baby is like they cut the cord, obviously,
Mhm.
and then they go away to scrub it, get it cleaned up. And it's like, no, don't just, don't just clean it. It
Yeah.
should have a little grease. And also, when the baby first comes into the world, it has a layer of, I don't know what it's called, but it's like a moisturizing
Mhm.
cream almost, you can say, on its skin. And that's also to protect the baby. It's
Yeah.
also to protect the skin and moisturize it. So it's natural and it's
Mhm.
supposed to be like that. But no, then you should scrub it away or you should clean it. No, no, leave it be.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, you can wait like I mean, I think at least 5 days is
Yes.
what people should wait. I've heard people wait up to 2 weeks to bathe the baby for the first time
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah. Why
so immune
not?
protective. Yeah. But I'm like at
Yeah.
least 5 days, let it marinate and all the like immunoprotective kind of
Yes.
gross stuff. Like that's what a baby needs.
Yeah, yeah. It should be that way. It's the natural way. Like, I can imagine our ancestors, when they gave birth, it was just like you said, in a dark place. And they were maybe even alone or with their mother or something,
Mhm.
and just giving it the natural way. Because a lot of the times they all also interfere with the baby, right? Because when the baby comes to the world, it's low in K2 vitamin, I think.
Mhm.
And then they inject it and it goes out in the bloodstream and it's the same thing there. It's a synthetic form. So the baby will not be able to use that. If anything, it will only block the real K2
Mhm.
because the body thinks like you have it, but you don't. You cannot use it.
Yeah.
And so you're ruining their health basically.
Yeah, and it's crazy too because they can get a lot of like the vitamin K
Mm,
from the placenta. Let them, yeah, delayed cord clamping, wait till it turns white, because
yes.
you're also going to get a lot of that immunoprotectivity from the placenta. But B, there's also a lot of reasoning that there's a perfect design in why babies like they're low in vitamin K because they can't process it yet, and
Yeah,
it
for a
comes in.
reason.
Yeah, it only takes 8 days, and then it like they build it up. So, and I think it's
Mm,
really interesting too. Like I was telling my husband this recently because I was like, I just am such a little researcher. But I was like,
yeah,
it
me
is
too.
interesting how if you look in like Old Testament times, like ancient Judaism, how it'd be like the
Mm-hmm.
eighth day they're circumcising the baby.
Yeah.
Vitamin K helps prevent blood clots. So it
Yeah.
takes 8 days for the vitamin K to come in. It prevents blood clots on the eighth day they're circumcising. And I'm like, back then, was the science caught up or was that literally like divine from heaven? Like, you know what I'm saying? Because it's really interesting with I think a lot of like ancient practices, how now that we have the science to understand it, it's so in line that why would you wait 8 days to circumcise, which is like when you get vitamin K, which is what is going to keep the blood or it's going to help with the blood clotting so that the baby doesn't bleed out when they get circumcised. Like that's
They
there's
knew.
no way. Yeah, I'm like there's no way the science like was there in like way 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 back BC, but somehow it's all perfectly lined up, and it all goes back to I'm like,
Yes.
humans are designed perfectly. We don't need to interfere.
Yeah.
There is a time, I believe, in emergency medicine for sure. There's a time and a place for it. Like, that's
Mhm.
great, but the way we treat the medical system as like
God.
yeah, as God,
Yeah.
it's very misguided.
Yes. Yes. And as you say, this was probably things either from God or that they learned through generations,
Yeah.
tradition. And we have lost a lot of that today. The storytelling from one generation to the next. So
Mhm.
we keep this traditions going. And we have lost that because we have replaced that knowledge with studies, with
Yeah.
the medical system, blah, blah, blah. We trust strangers like it were our own parents. Then, of course, they can use us however they want.
Yeah.
They can manipulate us however they want. I'm originally from Sweden, and in Sweden, everyone treats the government like it's their father. They listen.
Yeah.
It's not like in America because a lot of people in America can think for yourself. You don't always trust the government, but there they are really brainwashed. They're super brainwashed. They are only first now starting to wake up. And so functional medicine is not a big thing in Sweden. And even a lot of natural approaches. You said you had a naturopath,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's great. I think now, knowing what I know now, but I never knew that there was alternative medicine
Right.
until until I was going down the same rabbit hole as you because it didn't sit right with me either that I should have medication my whole life. And especially that I had seen my mother having Hashimoto's and 5 other autoimmune diseases. This is not solving anything.
Yeah.
And so that's when I started to like search other systems and came across this more natural, holistic way of viewing the body. But when you started out, did you go to the conventional system or were you always in the more natural, functional space?
Was definitely more conventional. Like, it's interesting growing up,
Yeah.
I think from a pretty young age, my family became at least, like, very, like, vaccine hesitant. That's probably the most functional thing.
Mm,
When I was a kid, the flu shot
good.
almost yeah, it almost killed my mom. She, like, blacked out and, like yeah, like, passed out from it, and, like, my dad happened to be home when he should have been at work and found her, and, like, she would have died if not. And that was when
Wow.
yeah, so I was probably, like, in 6th grade when that happened, and so that was when my family just stopped doing, like, vaccines because she was like,
Nice.
"This why did this almost kill me?"
Yeah. Thank
But
God.
yeah, but I would still go to a normal doctor for most things growing up, and I think, like, that's where like, it was hard because when I, really was, like, teenager going into adulthood, that was when it was, like, juice cleansing was, like, the crunchy healthy thing, it was just, like, juice cleanse
Mm-hmm.
culture. Kale bowl
Mm-hmm.
culture, so I fell into that, so I think it's interesting because I was health-minded, I wanted to be, like, this alternative whatever, I was just so
Yes.
misguided, so I still did, like,
Yeah.
when I would get, like, acne, I'd go to a dermatologist who would give me spironolactone or, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
that, but I still wanted like, I would try to be holistic, I was like that was my ultimate goal, I just didn't know what I was doing. So I think it
Exactly.
yeah, it was like
Yeah.
I always wanted that, but I didn't really know what that looked like, so it wasn't until I was, like, fully an adult in my, like, maybe, like, my young to mid-20s that I really delved into it, and it was a very slow transition too, because I had a naturopath, but I would still do these other things, right? Like, I would go get a colonic, but then I would also go take Synthroid and go on birth control. Like, it was a very slow progression to get to the point where now I just have, like, a general distaste of modern medicine. Like, even now, if something goes wrong, I'm more likely to get acupuncture than do anything else, right? Like,
Yeah.
I have a very extreme, I guess some people would say extreme mentality towards medicine, but it's because I've been there and I've also there's not a
Yeah.
single symptom in my life that Western medicine has cured. They've slapped Band-Aids on everything. And then
Yes.
once I would get off of the medication, because you can't stay on a lot of these things long term without other damage to other systems in the body, then the
Yes.
symptoms would come back versus doing things like
Mm.
liver cleansing, coffee enemas, acupuncture, like all these things, that's what's actually healed my body. So,
Yeah.
yeah, now I'm very anti like Western, except for cases of like true emergency. But I wasn't always that way. I'd say from like middle school until adulthood, it was a very slow progression to get to where I am.
Mhm. Mhm. And yeah, and it's so hard to navigate. I think also for me, like, hadn't my mother been so sick through the conventional ways, then I don't know if I would have searched for
Right.
alternatives.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was always like you also wanting to be as healthy as I could be, but I didn't have the knowledge. So it actually turned the other way around where I got sick because of the way I was living, because I was following those guidelines.
Yeah.
And so it's so backwards. Everything is so backwards. And it's a real struggle. Where I really felt, yeah, it is corrupted. It is all about money was when my mother told me that because she had a lot of medications. She had 20 medications and she was going with the ambulance 2 times a week when it was at the worst point of her journey. The, it was only then that they really took it serious with her because now she started to cost more money than
Mhm.
bringing into the system
Right.
because she had to go with ambulance so often and she had to stay at the hospital. And in Sweden, the government pays for those things.
Right.
So as long as she was just purchasing the meds, they were good. They
Wow.
didn't care. Yes, but as soon as she started going with ambulance, staying at the hospital, going with ambulance, staying at the hospital, then they were okay, let's send her to this specialist. And so they send her to this specialist, and he's known for actually treating the patients. And so she goes there and she talks to him, and he's saying, like, they trying to kill you. He's saying it in plain, yeah. He's like, they're trying to kill you, and you cannot follow their advice, and you cannot tell anyone what I'm telling you here, or
Wow.
I will get fired.
That is
And he,
crazy.
yes, and he directly put her on a keto diet, LCHF, and she got better. She removed more than half of her meds, and she only had supplements. But just like that.
Wow.
And he even told her he was in the system, but he had woken up, you know?
Mhm.
But he knew if she would tell anyone, he could not do this. He could not actually help people.
Right.
And so he kept it a secret. And he even tried to educate other dietitians into doing the same thing. But no one wanted to do that because they could risk losing their reputation, their work, everything that they have fought for. And like they pay education for
Mhm.
this. And so, but yeah, he only took on 5 cases every year,
Wow.
but he actually saved those people. And so I was, oh my God, mom, you stumbled, you stumbled over a man who saved your life. He's an everyday hero. What?
That is
And
incredible.
like, yeah. So even in the corrupted system, there are people who are waking up,
Mhm.
which gave me also hope. Yeah, there are some people out there that actually sees through this, that is in the system also working for a good cause. And that was, yeah,
Yeah, I'm hoping as information gets more like, mainstream too, and I think that's been
yeah,
one of the cool things about social media is like the
yes,
accountability now to the medical system. I'm hoping to see like I would love to see the medical system kind of reform and become more functional, even if it can be more integrative, right? Where they like at least people have options. Because I think that's the
hmm,
big thing. Is like I don't really care what everyone else does. Like if you want to get every vaccine, if you want to get do every medication, like that is your prerogative. However, what I do care about is the fact that it doesn't seem like options are presented to people, that informed consent is presented to people, like risks and benefits.
yes,
And I think that if we could get to a more integrative state with our medical system, where people are at least presented with the different available options and they can make their own
yes,
decision, that would be a really
yes,
beautiful like step forward.
yeah. Raising awareness. What is your options, like you say, and also knowledge. How does the body actually work?
Yeah.
Why don't they teach us this in school? Isn't it important for us to know how to take care of our bodies and our psyche? And
Yeah.
yeah, but that's also another thing, right? Most things are corrupted for a reason. Like they want us sick, they want us stupid, they want us dependent. And so
Yeah.
it is what it is. But
Yeah.
Delaney, I think we can talk for hours. Yeah. But where can people find you? I will
Yeah.
put links down below. Where do you want them to follow you?
I would love that. Yeah. So my podcast is called Wellness with Delaney. It's available everywhere, like major podcast streaming sites, Spotify, Apple, YouTube, Amazon, etc. And then my Instagram also is Wellness with Delaney. That's where I'm the most active, and I love when people DM me all the different questions or just come say hi. Like it's really a community over there. And so it's all, I mean, we talk about all different topics of health and wellness. Hot takes are always present. In addition to that, my website where you can find the rest of social media or just learn more about me and what I do, wellnesswithdelaney.com. And yeah, reach out anywhere on those places. I love to meet you guys. I love to chat health and wellness. And I love also to hear like what people want from me podcast and content wise. I'm always open to hearing like if there's a guest, you're like, please get this person on the show. I will do my very best to do that.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much. You're
Thank
such a
you.
wise woman. And everyone go subscribe to all the places. And thank you so much for joining.
Thank you. I am so glad we got to chat today and I'm excited for round two.
Yeah, me too. We're going to your channel next.
That's
So
right. So stay tuned,
stay
guys.
tuned. Yeah. Okay, bye.
Bye.